but all of you will see the first one today here openly on the stream. This is on pioneerlands.org. We hope to have the new system up where you get daily briefs and then a weekly premium brief on the market, everything that happened, looking forward into the next week across capital markets, AI stocks, AGI technology updates, and of course politics as far as it touches Pioneerlands, the pioneers in our future. So, what actually happened? You all know we had a very tough week for everyone who's into AI stocks, from Google to other Mac 7 to the semiconductors, and of course to Tesla, that got unfortunately completely slaughtered. And we have to take a look. So the headline basically is we had heightened macro risks. A main reason for the sell-off was, of course, the whole Iran thing that was cooking up again. And even I, who has normally high convictions in my own convictions, because I formed them systematically and said Trump has no way of escalating the conflict, even I took my confidence that we will not see a revival of the Iran war, that we will not see an escalation. I took my confidence down from 90% to 70%. That's how much got scared. So I basically said the Iran war is over. I said it for a long time. And I got so scared last week that I said, I put the risk of escalation from 10% now up to 30%. So I got fooled like everyone else. Still, I said 70% chance nothing happened. So market got very, very scared. You see that the fear and greed index that we will now also depict in our capital updates on pioneerlands.org. That's the CNN fear and greed index. Just a quick shortcut here on the briefing. 39, we are in fear territory. Weird situation, market at all-time highs, but the market is also very scared. And a lot of capital is on the sidelines because of it. So that happened, and of course we start here with Tesla getting slaughtered after earnings on higher capex and no robotaxi updates. Revenue beat at 28.2 billion, but EPS missed actually pretty badly, 33 cents against 50 cents expected, and the market punished the spend rather than the growth. There is actually some very interesting posts on X. Who did this post? I don't even know who it was, but it showed that Tesla is actually, I think AJ, it was AJ, at absolute all-time highs. Here you have the post. I think I can share that. That's not a premium post. AJ was friendly enough to share that little overview here that shows you Tesla is actually at a trailing 12 months operating cash flow maximum over its entire history. And in case you're not familiar with what that is, operating cash flow is the cash flow, the actual cash generated by the business before capex. So all the stuff that comes out of the business into operations, into the treasury of the company, the cash that comes in before we account for investments for capital expenditures, is now increased another 13.1%, 12 months trailing. So to $18.7 billion. So that's the amount of money that Tesla gets into the coffers. Let that sink in. That is the amount of money it gets into the company, 18.7 billion. From all the stuff it's doing, that's pretty amazing. That's a lot of cash. Of course, most of that then goes out into investments. Actually, all of it, they decrease the balance sheet a little bit, but these are all investments into Optimus factories, into robotaxi scaling, cybercab scaling, and Terafab, and so on and so forth. But why do you invest in growth? Because you will have growth. So this is actually incredibly bullish, in my opinion, for the stock, but the stock got absolutely destroyed. We can take a quick look here if you can stomach it. One look back at this terrible, terrible week. 313, absolutely ridiculous. But we also know that this was a larger crash for the entire market, at least the AI game. And lots of other stocks also suffered. Look at, for example, I think even Amazon. Let's look at Amazon. Not even earnings, but when you look at the 5-day, look at this. This is the same day when Tesla crashed and you saw the entire market crash. Even stocks like Amazon with no earnings reported crashed like crazy. We saw all kinds of AI related stocks. This new interface is so annoying. Robinhood, for example, look at this complete slaughter, also without any specific news, but all of them got absolutely destroyed. And then Micron, of all stocks that actually did pretty well in the earnings calls from Google and from Tesla, benefited from what Google said about it, that they are spending, and that Elon actually mentioned Micron Technologies. He was grateful that they got special allocations and guarantees for Micron HDM RAM. So they got a shout out in the earnings call from Tesla. And still, the stock, after going up here, after the earnings call, got completely destroyed on Friday. Why? No one knows. Of course, the Kospi is down, Korea is down like every second day. It's just crazy. The market is incredibly negative, incredibly, insanely negative. And you know that these stocks, PE ratio of 20, that's Micron, but forward PE of 6 now, 6 to 7 or 7. So crazy low valuations for the entire AI play. And of course, that is also applicable for Tesla. So what does it all tell us? Of course, Google dropped 7%, Micron got destroyed. One important aspect of this entire thing is, and I shared this on X, is that we are still in a massive CapEx build out for AI, that we are seeing massive expansions of further investments. Google amping up their investments to 200 billion CapEx this year. Why? Because they have 500 billion in backlog orders for their cloud systems, all AI related, GPUs. 500 billion in backlog for Google, and Google cannot deliver the goods because they don't have enough data centers up and running, which means they need to invest. And that's why they're investing $200 billion this year to actually walk through that $500 billion revenue backlog, $500 billion that wants to be given to Google, that's ordered. So why would you drop the stock if you have 500 billion in backlog orders and you invest 200 billion to unlock that stuff? No one knows. The market doesn't know, but they're selling it anyway. One of the reasons, just to address that where there is a risk, especially for the main beneficiaries, NVIDIA, Micron, SK Hynix, the semiconductors, one reason for them to be a little jittery, even though they are super low valuation right now, is something like this. That's what I found here on X from Ticker Trends. And this curve shows you the Anthropic, the cloud maker, Anthropic ARR, the annual run rate, $74 billion. But the growth is decelerating. And that's what I predicted some time ago, that we will see clear deceleration of growth for the AI spend on enterprise, especially Anthropic, because it went absolutely parabolic in Q1 of this year, which means the enterprise clients, S&P 500, large enterprises, they are saying, give them millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars, spend them all on tokens, token max the hell out of it. And of course, they are pulling back at some point because it's kind of stupid to do that. And there is no way around the fact that we will see a deceleration in growth for Claude and Anthropic just tactically, because enterprise went all in and they're stupid. They shouldn't spend that much on tokens, which will distort or stop the exponential growth of Anthropic. And when that leaks to Wall Street, that's inevitably going to happen. That will create a mini shock, because you know how these people are. They're not using their brain too much. They're going to say, oh my God, AI is decelerating, sell everything. This means the stop of CapEx. That means the main spender, the main pull for this demand, the main people who go to Google and have created this $500 billion backlog, the main people who go to SpaceX, Anthropic, and buy SpaceX capacity. Ooh, these people will now not grow anymore. They will pull back, which has a ripple effect. Then no one does CapEx anymore, blah, blah, blah. This is going to happen at some point when this data leaks in earnest a little bit more. Of course, it's fake news. Of course, at some point the growth will accelerate again. We see massive revolutions on the AI side all the time, but Wall Street doesn't care. They want a sell-off when they can get one. And so they will panic sell everything. And then it will take 3 months or 2 months, maybe 45 days to get back when this news, the fake news, is getting washed out of the system. So that is a potential risk, a little AI shock that awaits us. So we need to be cognizant of that. I don't know when this leaks and when they think this is happening. We can just predict it is happening, and at some point it will leak, and then they want to panic and want to sell everything, and that will be a giant buying opportunity, but it's important not to be in that trade at that point in time. So that's happening. Then we will look quickly here at the macro situation, Iran. Of course, the Iran escalation fear this week led to oil going nearly to 100, ending the week at $90 per barrel, and 10-year treasuries very scarily close to the 5% kill threshold, right? You do not want the 10-year treasury, the bonds over 5%. That's just extremely bad for everything. You want this below 4% ideally, but we are far away from below 4% because of this whole Iran and panic situation. So that is not a good picture, and that was the main reason, in my opinion, that there was pressure on the markets. Now, with a potential relaxation that everyone who knows a little bit about Trump predicted, oh yeah, it's going to be another taco. And I said more strategically, you just cannot escalate the Iran situation. It would be the end of the economy, because Iran is ready to retaliate all over the place, and everyone is a sitting duck at this point. And they have rearmed a lot in this break phase. So they have just, I think, further strengthened their grip on the situation, and attacking them would be just a very bad idea. And that is why I still had a 70% chance on non-escalation. And that means now we have a surprise upside when this thing comes out that Trump says, oh, they want to negotiate, we stop the attacks, which they did over the weekend. No one knows what happens next, but reason would at least suggest that this cannot escalate, which means oil goes down, treasuries go down again, market goes up again. Can we be sure? Of course not, but more likely than not. Let's wrap it up here with the last little fact. That's all in the brief that you can't get right now because the site isn't up yet, but hopefully tomorrow we have the new connection issue here. So we have these retail flows. Isn't that very interesting? So here you see the net retail flows, and you see that they're as low as they have ever been over the last 5 years. This is retail net flows, okay? US retail net flow index into stocks, which is pretty fascinating. So retail is in disarray. Here's 2026. Went up in Q1. I don't know why. I want everyone about Q1. And they invested into April or something. Here is probably April. And then there was the April problems. Here was the Iran war, right? February, April. So that started probably here. And you see retail going down and down and down. And now it's actually as low as it was in 2020 in the pandemic. So what does it mean? Retail is retreating from the market. They got a bloody nose. They lost a lot of money. And now the money is sitting on the sidelines. We also know a lot of things about institutions also being very scared. They think the market is overvalued. They have pushed the money out of the market into the sidelines. So both retail and institutional are very cautious right now. And you see the fear and greed index here. This is all actually pretty bullish. Because if the money's out of the market, where's it going to go? And that means for me, even though everyone is extremely scared right now, everyone is going to say, ooh, the world's looking very bad. Ooh, we have a correction coming and everything. You know the old rule. If everyone is scared, the market cannot crash. So can the market crash? The market can always crash. You have to be cautious. But when I take a step back here, fundamentally, we had a very bad time. Everyone had a bad time. I think we are probably closer to a tactical bottom than we are to more sell-off. Of course, you have to be very cautious. It's not that I don't feel the fear, but my brain, my frontal cortex tells me, oh, maybe the situation is actually more bullish than people think, at least tactically, and we might see another rally for the market into Q4. And if that happens, okay, then we are setting up for a crash, of course, for potential correction. But if not, as long as this rally doesn't happen, I do not think you can sell off forever, especially at historically low valuations. Do I have this in here? Maybe we have to talk about this. Yes, this is the last thing I want to cover. We have historically low valuations when you look at price to earnings growth ratios. So this is when you actually take price earnings and you actually divide it by 5-year forward consensus earnings growth, and which means you are not just looking at price earnings ratio of the entire market, you look at how price earnings actually relate to the growth expected in the future. And some of the stocks are just ridiculous. Micron is at 0.19 and everything below 1 is actually good. And you see historically, we have never had such a low valuation when you take price earnings and divide it by forward earnings, which means how expensive is the market? How much do you actually pay for companies in relation to their current price and in relation to their expected earnings? And the answer is we were never that cheap in the last 30 years. Never that cheap, which is pretty crazy. And that is the paradox of the entire AI market right now. Everyone talks about a bubble, when in reality, we are not just not in a bubble, we are in an anti-bubble. We are as cheap on the valuation side as we have ever been, especially on the AI stocks. Isn't that interesting? So I understand why people are nervous. It feels incredibly risky out there. It feels dangerous. All I know is when everyone is afraid, crashes are much less likely. And I also know that the AI bubble talk is the dumbest thing I've ever heard. It's definitely not a bubble. It's exactly the opposite. So that is my take for now. Let's see what we have today on this beautiful Sunday. And I know I froze. I had like a hiccup in the connection, but I'm back. So let's scroll all the way up and see. Ryan Spiller's short interest is up. Exactly. That's another bullish indicator. Second, politically incorrect. Droid, hi Joe. Hello everyone. Greetings into the world wherever you are, from San Jose to San Diego to Norway to Australia. Good morning, Joe, from Awatuki. Where is it again? That's in Arizona. Montgomery. Next year must trademark this phrase because he uses it so much. Roy equals pain. Google is an absolute buy right now. Exactly. But I mean, many things are absolute buy. Amazon is an absolute buy. Micron is an absolute buy. Nvidia is an absolute buy. I think Tesla is an absolute buy. Cryptopractor says nobody discussing the Japanese carry trade unwinding. It's happening. Yes, but it's too predictable in my opinion. I think people are discussing it. So it's very hard for these big macro moves to, same with the Chinese stock market crashing. How much of the signal is it? You always have to consider if it's that visible, like what happens in Japan. I mean, how can that be a secret? It's probably priced in. Andreas Peterson says, yes, for Tesla tanking, so I tomorrow can buy more shares. 7 Tesla shares coming right up. Exactly, says even I getting tired of Trump. I was a clear Trump supporter in the election because I saw Kamala, the specter, coming. And so it was the rational decision to support Trump. But what Trump is doing now is just not good. What's your prediction on Tesla over the next couple of weeks? Tanks further, bottoming, or snap back? So politically incorrect, we have to understand that the whole Tesla situation is a little less special than it seems. Amazon is the best example. Amazon didn't even have earnings, and Amazon looked not exactly like Tesla, but for Amazon, look at this crazy drop, 4% down the day Tesla dropped. So I think Tesla is overrated. The moves of Tesla as a specific stock specific thing, it is a market specific thing, so it will depend what the market does. Google is an absolute buy also, yes. John J says, Joe, you're an intelligent man, but after the inflection point, I can't take you seriously anymore. What inflection point? Tesla has been a horrible investment over the last 4 years. Well, over the last 4 years, actually not that horrible. It has been terrible over the last 5, I think. But don't forget, we have this market problem here, and Tesla just got a little creamed. It's true after earnings, but it's really not Tesla specific. You know, the same thing happened to Google, so you need to take a step back and see that as a market total problem that will not last forever. I think we are really pushing the boundaries of how low this market can go, including Tesla. Infinite Hope. How much do your Pioneerlands service cost you? Well, we have 2 tiers. We had a long discussion if you should increase prices, but I said no, because we have big plans for Pioneerlands. So we have $9 per month. That is very affordable. $9 per month for all the new briefs and all the premium services, except for financial models. That's $49 a month if you want to get access to the financial models, because we put a lot of work into that. So we need to make that a little bit more expensive. But we are also working very hard on some things that are not so capital markets centric, where it's more about building the future and building the network. I have some surprises. This took a long time to figure that out, but I think it's going to be very interesting, because we can't just talk about money. We have to talk about the future of AI. We have to talk about what's happening with X, with Elon. Did you see the interview? Elon's interview on The Economist. I will pull that up. That's worth a watch. A lot of huge things are happening between politics, capital markets, and the AI revolution. And we need to get a little prepared here. Economist, let me pull this up so you see what's happening. The full Economist interview, I will keep it quiet. Oh, it's always too loud, but we will let this run. So we have some inspiration here while we talk. So replace Trump with AOC, great for the market socialism. Who says we want to replace Trump with AOC? No one says that. Everyone is mad at Trump. It's a huge disappointment. But of course, you have no choice. You can't, like, there's always something worse, you know? So that's the problem. Hello from Aussie in Vietnam. Wow, Aussies in Vietnam. Greetings to Vietnam. Awatucky is not a city, it's actually in Phoenix. It's in Phoenix? What is Awatucky? Is that, so it's is it a suburb of Phoenix? Interesting. Exactly, says Google is up 137% in the last 5 years. Tesla's up 37% during the same time. Yes, Google did better. Nvidia is up much more. There's always something better. So we are doing that. So have you seen that interview? That was like quite the thing. Elon absolutely creamed these people. And was pretty wild what was happening there. Skyline. Embarrassed to admit it. Yeah. So that's actually happening. So on Pioneerlands, this is actually on plot design. We have a whole new thing coming up here on Pioneerlands, a whole new nice little landing page. You should definitely join this thing. This is going to be a revolution when we are done. Here's the new landing page. You're not locked in. The AI transformation is imminent, which I truly believe. Take the future into your own hands. This is our little pitch. We have the weekly briefing. We have investment research. We have the AGI Academy. That's my biggest time commitment here. I'm working on building for you guys the whole academy out, which will be fully accessible to the citizens. which is the $9 per month thing. We need some revenue here. I need to pay a lot of people. And the AGI Academy will basically tell the whole story. The whole story. What is happening, including the matrix. I will talk about the matrix. And I will talk about the pioneers and Pioneerlands. And we will building this operating system for the future. This is your money. AGI system, Draupnir. Some people criticize me for the name because they can't pronounce it, but it's called Draupnir. It's your own agentic AI system. You can actually, if you're a member, you can already see it. And we will have your network. This is probably the biggest innovation. Let's see how you guys like it. We can build very cool things now. The network is totally overhauled. And that is very good. Here, Mark Cave. Good job, Joe. Keep the faith and your point of view coming. Yeah, I always feel bad, Mark Cave. I'm very grateful to all the citizens. We have still a lot of citizens, over 100, even though I let you guys down a little bit with all these delays, but it's because I'm actually committing a lot of time on the back end and thinking about how can I tell this amazing, crazy story we are in. And it's becoming more and more publicly debated, actually, which is crazy that we live through completely insane times. And Elon is saying that a lot of people are saying it, but they're all confused about the plan. And so it's up to us to make a little bit of a plan. We need to start building our own networks. It's very important because some pretty wild things might be happening very soon in the next 3 years. And that's not just a good thing. And it's really important that good people, who are normal good people, who are competent and normal, but not power-hungry maniacs and not incompetent people. So I'm talking about the main people who are carrying our countries, like you guys. We have to actually give ourselves a little bit more power to also have a say in this whole thing that's happening. And to have a say in something is actually much easier than people think. You know, if you're sitting in a little town or village in Sweden or in Germany or in Australia or in Ohio or wherever, in Arizona or in Vietnam as an Aussie, you are only one step away from having much more power. And that power happens when people connect and coordinate. That is the most underrated way of getting into true power. And we will need some power collectively. Otherwise, people will do stupid stuff. And Trump, that's why I'm still thinking Trump is a good choice as president, because he makes everything much more clear. We are also seeing it in the EU unraveling a lot of things. It is important that normal, healthy people actually have more power, and you get more power by getting better organized with other normal people and have a set of basic values where we align ourselves on very agreeable values like freedom, for example, sovereignty, money, what about that? And start coordinating ourselves a little bit more. And that is the point of the network. I have one central organizing principle there that I will present maybe in the next week. I hope next week. Latest next Sunday, and we'll get your opinion on it. It's kind of a civilizational organizational theory that could be very important. Could be very important and could be very effective. Politically incorrect, how did your Tesla Alpha do after this huge drop? As you know, because I said it, so we were nearly not affected. I was actually green on that day because I completely minimized. I said it before the earnings call, if you watched my video. Before the earnings call on Wednesday, I said, I'm a little bit out of here. I went into Micron, which was very good. I got then a little slaughtered on Friday, by the way, because of Micron, but not even close to what I would have been with Tesla. I had a bad feeling about this whole thing. Technicals look bad and everything. So that drop was not a problem for me. June was a little tough. Droid says, thanks for the Pioneer opportunity, Joe. I'm glad you took the initiative, and I hope we will be able to connect and get something moved forward. Thank you, Droid. I'm super grateful to you guys because you have to understand my mindset. I have these plans, and then I need to implement the whole thing, which is not always easy. And then I feel I let you guys down because it's taking so long, but what are you going to do? And we are making tremendous progress. So I'm super grateful for everyone who's sticking with it and understands we don't really have a choice. We need to do something. And my job is to provide a platform both on YouTube and X, but also more importantly on Pioneerlands that finally gets us a little bit better organized. And then we have to see what people are actually up for, right? How much action does everyone want to take? We're going to build little tribes. I give you away some little hints. I have a tribe theory. And I think that's going to be potentially very big. And it's not just, it's really about understanding this age of AGI. It's understanding all the things that are happening. It's asking questions. Here, I will show you more. This is right now in Cloud Design, but it's coming. Pioneerlands Home, is that the new one? Let's see. That's the new one. Yeah, and you will have here the questions are much better organized now. I can make this bigger. Questions are better organized now. You can actually ask me the questions that I'm answering here. That got a little here. This is now very easy to see. This will be the new homepage. And the academy here, this comes soon. The network comes probably next week. And then here's Draupnir AI, your agentic system. Here's your money. Here's the forum. And here will be the videos and X. So this will be a very cool interface. Here's the weekly brief that leads you to what we just discussed. That's right here. So you see, this is the new situation that will be live hopefully tomorrow. And then the academy will be the crown jewel or the network. Who knows how it turns out. Okay, what else do we have here? Richard Thomas. In London, when they built the Docklands light railway, there was a lot of trouble because they wanted automated. So do you think industrial action will make AI difficult? I don't understand the exact question, Richard. In London, when they built the Dockland light railway, there was lots of trouble because they want it automated. Do you think industrial action will make AI difficult? I don't totally understand the question. With wealth, Tesla will start rallying soon after SpaceX earnings. How will the merger drama settle with wealth? Sir Jeffrey, talk to me, Joe. How can I talk to you? What should I talk about? Hit the like button. That's the most important comment. Yes, hit the like button. So, yeah, look at this. We will have all that coming up, and the network, I hope, the network is the most important thing. How can we make the pioneers in Pioneerland start networking with each other and building real things on the ground, maybe even events? We could do events. Think about that and talk about all these things, maybe in person. What about that? Jonas doesn't exist. I made him up. So that is all happening. And you probably also saw that Grok 4.5, as I predicted it would be, is actually a huge success. And of course, Elon is now doubling down and says Grok 4.6 and 4.7 are coming out very soon. Here, look at this. Grok 4.6 in 2 weeks and Grok 4.7 in 4 weeks. And normally Elon is correct on the timelines with these things. So mid of August, we have Grok 4.6 already, and then Grok 4.7 in 4 weeks. And you see the Pareto frontier. You see here the score, the power of the AI, and here you see the average cost per dollar per rollout. And you see that Grok is at the Pareto frontier. So the frontier basically means what is the best thing. And Fable 5 is a total failure on that front now with way too expensive. But Opus 5 is pushing it. Opus 5 seems to be very good. And Grok is actually above that frontier. Right? It's not as good as Opus 5, but it's much cheaper. That's how it looks like. Here, what do you recommend buying today? Should we still hold over on SpaceX for the fall? Yes. Here. I am not bullish on SpaceX, even though it dropped so much. But you have to understand SpaceX's valuation is still way too high, even though I am convinced, based on our research, we are putting it into research briefs right now. Maybe one more week and we will have a bunch of research briefs with in-depth deep dives on Colossus built out and when the timeline actually becomes real. So if they launch Colossus 2 and 3, they might be able to get much higher EBIT this year, and that can flip SpaceX from 500 price earnings to 50 price earnings. If you take in consideration the new earnings coming in and the stock price drop. So SpaceX is now definitely getting into interesting territory, but the unlocks are coming. Still huge amounts of share unlocks, so the selling pressure is just very high on this thing. Politically incorrect. Did you buy any Tesla buying after the huge drop? No, I'm staying also off Tesla for now. Of course, I have a little core position, but reduced core position, because not so much because I think Tesla is not hot, but there are just so many other hot stocks. That's why you need the research. So Tesla is attractive, but other stuff is even more attractive. So it's important to stay in Tesla at the core position. But if the market recovers, of course Tesla will recover, but other stocks might recover even more. So I think Tesla is a must-have for a core AI portfolio, but we know robotaxi will be a little delayed, it seems, from what Elon said. And it might get more attractive in the future. And attractive is not just if the stock drops more. I don't know if it drops more because it dropped too much. It's about when do we get closer to an inflection point. I'm getting a little less bullish on an imminent inflection point. Imminent meaning in the next couple of weeks for Cybercap based on what Elon said. Okay, Richard Thomas said, I meant, will industrial action slow AI development when people are losing their jobs? No. I think the cat is out of the bag. You can't even slow AI development, and you can't slow the implementation at this point. Even if you would slow AI now, there is like a tail, right? So based on the AI we have now, you could go on with massive improvements and massive job displacements over the next 2 years, exponential job displacements, even if you would freeze the frontier labs, because there is a giant lag between what a model can do, frontier models, and what the harnesses and the other engineering stuff can do with this level of model for replacing jobs. So this is coming. Ken says, we are showing oversold on daily time frame. You guys think we will be green after hours? What do you mean after hours? You mean tomorrow? You're referring to Micron, I imagine. Well, Micron, Google, Amazon, but also Nvidia. Look at Nvidia is ready to rally, in my opinion. Jensen Huang just said that Optimus is the future. Well, you have to understand Jensen Huang's psychology, or not psychology, strategy. Jensen Huang is very smart. He just signed his letter for making everything open source. Jensen Huang has one objective, and that's to make and keep Nvidia big. And that means he has to be friendly to everyone. They are huge customers, Tesla. Of course, he says Tesla is amazing. He says OpenAI is amazing. He says everyone is amazing. That's his job. He is the cheerleader for everyone. He also said that Tesla will be a multi-trillion-dollar company. Of course Tesla will be a multi-trillion-dollar. I mean, there's no doubt. The question is not if Tesla is a good buy. Of course, Tesla is a screaming buy right now. The question is it the best buy, and how does it compare to Micron? How does it compare to Amazon? How does it compare to Google? I hate Google, but Google is going to be good. How does it compare to Nvidia? And when you look at these, I mean, I think Micron is just insane what's happening there. Ken says, I think it will start to. Tesla stock will increase tomorrow. Well, I mean, everything we have seen so far, the market, Trump, Iran, I mean, it all looks like a very green day tomorrow. And if that's the case, all these stocks will go up a lot. You know my kind of little selection. I think SpaceX will be the weakest if they go up, but Tesla is a total candidate for a big, big V-shaped recovery. Micron, even bigger candidate, V-shaped recovery. So, I mean, that's what I mean. Like, do you think what is more likely? Micron being up 5% on Monday or Tesla? Of course, Micron is more likely. But likely Micron was down 6% on Friday. So it's all relative. Rocket Lab, by the way, Rocket Lab will be included in the analysis in Pioneerlands for the Citizen Plus accounts. Rocket Lab is also hot. Rocket Lab got absolutely murdered in conjunction with SpaceX. When you look at space, the industry and the stocks, they are moving in unison. SpaceX is the leader, and SpaceX got destroyed, but everyone else got also destroyed. So they're moving as a sector clearly. And this is the same question exactly. The question is, will SpaceX recover stronger or Rocket Lab discover stronger? Hard to tell. I am not done with Rocket Lab analysis, but Rocket Lab is definitely also hot. But that's the problem. Is Rocket Lab hotter than Micron? Probably not. So it's about betting on the different sectors. We have Tesla as its own sector. Then we have semiconductors. I would make a differentiation between NVIDIA as the best chip company and the safest bet, in my opinion, versus the memory stocks. Then we have Mag 7, where I think Amazon is always the best buy, better than Google and Microsoft, in my opinion. And then we have, of course, Meta, which is the highest return, highest risk situation. I'm actually bullish strategically on Meta. I think they have an outstanding AI team, underrated, more upside, super low PE. But Amazon is, of course, a safer bet. Yeah, that's the problem, corporates, Hill. Buy everything. That's the problem. That's actually what you need to do. Leisure real estate, Tesla, NVIDIA, BTC, Sol, MU, AMD, Marvell, Broadcom, Palantir, Google, SpaceX. Not the worst selection. Would I push back on something? I don't know too much about, I'm not too sure on AMD, to be honest. And I would replace Google with Amazon. And I would not buy SpaceX yet. Leisure. But I mean, this is definitely a good selection. I would replace Sol with Ethereum. But would I bet that Solana is not outperforming Ethereum? No, of course not. I don't know. I just think Ethereum is a little safer. Tesla, yes. NVIDIA, yes. BTC, yes. MU, definitely yes. AMD, not sure. But I mean, as part of the Marvell and Broadcom thing, sure. Palantir, sure. They will not go out of business. Google replaced with Amazon, but Google is also good. SpaceX, I would not do right now. I would wait. SpaceX has no competition. That's true. It's not about criticizing SpaceX as a strategic stock. It's just the entry point right now. I don't like it. Tesla has no competition. That is correct. Winning is not correct right now, but will be correct in the future. AMD is a beast. Leisure real estate, ETH pumps sold to the moon. I don't even know what the latest is Ethereum, what's happening over the weekend. SpaceX is dropping Falcon 9, I heard. Rocket Lab Neutron got an open window. I mean, Falcon 9 is not going to get dropped anytime soon. Only when Starship is really up and running, which will take another year. But, I mean, I'm bullish on the space sector. There's always, place for number 2. Rocket Lab definitely way ahead of Blue Origin. I mean, these people, I don't even know why they're so slow. Rocket Lab is a very cool company. It was just a little highly valued, but now it's getting better. So that's the situation. What else do we have? Time to wrap it up, guys. But what do we have here on X? All the crazy commentary. Ooh, we have these political problems. Terror attacks on the Christopher Street Day. You heard all about it. Ooh, they shot the guy. Interesting. So now he's dead. I'm not too empathetic with terrorists, but it's always sad when people die. But this guy, MicroStrategy. Oh, I didn't even pay attention. 91? That's very low. It did go into 91? I thought 90. 91. Wow, I thought 94 or something. That's also pretty. I mean, MicroStrategy is a total screaming buy. Yes, absolutely. This thing is undervalued, and Bitcoin is not even down that much. So, move to NYC. Everything is free. Is that true? Did Mamdani achieve socialist paradise finally? I hope so. NYC is known to be a cheap city. How much upside is there in MU? What's your time frame? Oh, Martin Becker, this MU is a tricky situation. I'm playing short puts because the premium is so high. This thing can at any point retrace back another 20%. It's a little extreme what's going on with MU, but it can also run to 1200 short term. If you want to buy the stock and hold it, I think this has to go to 2000. But you have to not do anything on margin. This thing can jump around like a crazy person. NYC, I lived there a long time ago, but it's a total cesspool, this place. And now it's turning socialist. I would not underestimate the risk. Can the Pioneerlands AI agent run locally? In Infinite Hope, we have actually a great AI team in Estonia, also where the company is based. I lived in Estonia a little bit. It's amazing. I love Estonia. So, you know, if you're a citizen, you can just start using Draupnir and actually ask support questions. Alex is on support and he's very savvy and he can help you with all kinds of things. Grew up next to NYC. It is gone. Yeah. Free condos in NYC. I know, socialism can make it happen. As long as you don't have money. If you have money, they will take it from you. That's the bad news. Okay, guys, let's wrap it up here. Thanks for joining. It's a pleasure as always. I think Pioneerlands will undergo a beautiful evolution and turn into a butterfly. Next week, we will launch the page and I will start finally pushing the agenda. It's a very open agenda on Pioneerlands, what we need to do beyond making money. We always have to make money, don't forget. We always have to make money, but in order to make money, we need to understand AI, we have to understand politics, and we need to actually start doing something here. Things will get wild. That's not because of Pioneerlands. Pioneerlands will be the solution. But things are gonna get wild. I think all of you guys know that. You can sense it in the air. This is not a stable situation across the entire globe, but especially Europe and the United States and Australia. So thank you so much and see you tomorrow. Happy Sunday.